Uh-oh. Looks like chat did not happen. Let's see if I can refresh it. Come on, buddy. All right, well, we'll see if chat will click online here in a few moments. Let me go ahead and check my signal here to see if we're live. We're gonna boost our signal across social media real quick, and then we're gonna get into work for a little while. Waiting video is not available. Are we live or aren't we? Okay, now it's live, right? Okay, now it's live, right? Okay, there we go. And that probably means that I can refresh over here. Hey, all right. So OBS is apparently stuttering with with YouTube. Let me go ahead and it looks like the signal is coming through, so I'm going to grab my link here real quick and do the social media posts, and we'll get started. My name is Phil Kearney. Hey, what's up? I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I'm creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition using 2024 mechanics for an adventure in the Eberron campaign setting called Crystals of Mabar. You can see the book cover here on screen right now. It's for characters level 7 and 8. You're fighting necromancers, demons, and undead in the Carnwood of Karrnath on the continent of Corvair. And we're doing environmental art right now. The adventure is done. Right now we're just going through the process of dropping art assets into the book, and on the blank pages that don't have art assets, we're painting them. As I'm an illustrator, I've been a DM since 1987. I've been an Eberron enthusiast since 2004. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999, and creating content on the DMsGuild since 2018. I haven't done anything for Eberron yet, so this is my love letter to Eberron. And that is going to wrap up my intro, so let me fix my screen here real quick. If you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. Here's a playlist of all 500 episodes of creating all the assets. Here's a bunch of books that I've created on the DMsGuild already that have free previews. And let's just go ahead and get to work. See if we can make some cool shit today. So I'm going to fix my screen real quick here. Whoop, and get rid of the book cover. Whoop. Okay, it looks like everything is sitting pretty. I'm just fixing my windows. There we go. Okay, cool. So we are in the process of painting an environment of basically wildflower. It's a meadow of wildflowers outside the village named Peace, where the adventure begins. And at the conclusion of the adventure, we find peace again for the villagers. So right now we're adding in snowy bits to these mountaintops. That's where we left off last time. So I think that's where we'll re-engage now. I'm pretty happy with how everything is sitting. Yep. Okay, so let's get in here. I'm gonna grab some of this. See, at this range it looks pretty good, but like when you get really close to it, it's like there's some pretty pixely shit going on inside here. That's the illusion of resolution and pixel art. So if you're looking at this at home and on the full screen, it's a 16:9 format, so it fits on your screen like this. Obviously, if you're using your device, you could probably read this text. I mean, we're painting over the text right now, but we'll fix that in post-production. I just want to build the art to fill the space, and then we'll trim it down as needed over here in the corner. But it should be pretty easy for you guys to read. That's the intent. It's a 17-inch wide, 10-inch tall document with a 12-point base font. These header titles are 14-point fonts. This is a 16-point font here and here. And yeah, we're going to just basically fill this space. So basically, I've done a ton of Bob Ross paintings in Photoshop to learn how to do Bob Ross paintings in Photoshop. I spent all of 2017 basically doing 120 different paintings from Bob's channel. Just getting good at it. So yeah, let's go ahead and keep on keeping on. I think I actually want to add in this darker color here to do the shadowy side of the mountain. I'm gonna add an extra layer here so I don't molest the stuff that we've done already as we go through the process. But if you were here last session, this is when we started working on this. I'm using a faded eraser right now to work this stuff into the canvas, but we already have our angles worked out for the mountains here, so we're just working the angles to add the texture in. And once we'll finish the mountains today, we'll get through the hills. We'll probably resolve distant tree line, and then work our way into the wildflower fields. There's a tulip festival that happens in Washington State each year. I want to say it's in Sequim County, Sequiem, Sequim. Sequim, we come from Sequim. Yeah, it's a very it's a northwest, the Pacific Northwest. It's the western corner of America and pretty high latitude. We have I think we have a similar sort of environment to what is in Karrnath. I think it's a similar latitude. So that means the idea is here. I'll show you the composition. So here's the composition. We have a mountain range, and then we have tree line, and then we have homestead village, and then we have the wildflowers, and then we have a little hedge on a knoll with some like rosemary bushes or rosemary trees. That's the general composition. The rough sketch of it, as it were, so we know what the different components are. But obviously now we're going in and doing all the detail to make it look awesome. The brush sets that I'm using, they're on my Patreon. You don't have to pay to get them. I just ask that people follow the Patreon, and then you can see the most recent post where I had provided these. There's 20 brushes in this in the download. And I'll probably use like 7 or 8 of them in this episode, or in this painting rather, maybe not in this episode. So I can take this, I can smudge it, and I can work this into the canvas. Like that. Using the contours that we've already created for the terrain. And then we'll use our eraser tool to scratch out texture into it. This is the mountain chisel that we created specifically to do this. Bob Ross paintings have the flexibility of actually working like an actual real space where texture resolution is infinite. And he has a brush with 10,000 hairs in it that every time he taps, it creates a different random stipple pattern. So we had to create brushes that replicate that tapping replica, that tapping stipple pattern, and for mountains he uses his little he uses the 2-inch knife, and you can put a little roll of paint on it and then just whisper it across the canvas. We were talking about this last session, how the vellum canvas that you use in those paintings has thousands of tiny little pock marks. That mean because it's a weaved fabric. And the little spaces that are gaps between the weave doesn't catch the paint. So the paint on his palette knife is only grabbing the actual strings in the yarn of the vellum, and that allows him to use the texture of the actual canvas to create the effect that he wants. In Photoshop, we don't have texture. It's perfectly smooth, glossy, non-space. So we have to create brushes that can simulate and fake that texturing, which is why I spent a year making Bob Ross paintings, so I could develop the tools, like literally the brush tools needed to be able to duplicate those effects. And I can't make a painting in a half hour at the same level of quality that Bob can. I could do it, but it wouldn't look as good as Bob's. But if you give me 5 hours, I can. So it takes me 6 times as long to do the same work that Bob can do in real space, but my paint is free. Which is why when I approached them about, hey, I did this thing with Photoshop, are you guys... I did it because I can't see color. So I can't do what Bob does because I can't mix colors on a palette. I just can't do it. So I can paint in color using Photoshop, and that's the only way. So obviously I want to be able to... I want to be able to do what other people can do. And if I can't do it the way that other people can do it, then I'm going to find a fucking way to do it myself. And so when I did, I'm like, hey, this is really cool. I did this, and I've kind of been running this channel, not only to show, like, what is it, like, what are the steps that go into making a role-playing game, which is what this is for, but also to be a beacon for anyone out there that knows colorblind artists that are, like me, attempting to work in color. This could become a touchstone and a point of reference that I can help teach how to do that. I just don't know how many people out there that are colorblind have the obsession of painting in color like I do. I don't know why I was built this way. I don't know why I felt I need to take on this challenge, but it's what was queued up for me to... It is my grandstand in this life, I guess. So I'm gonna play it to the hilt. And that looks really fucking cool. So we're gonna take over here. We're gonna drop in. That's 2 patterning. So I'm gonna drop that in like that. I'm gonna smudge at this a little bit. So everyone has limitations. Everyone spawns into the server with different specs and tools available to them. And our job as humanity is to take the cards that we were dealt and play a hand and try to enjoy our life. And then when the hand is over, check it out, and then pick up another hand and try again. At least that's my philosophy. So I play accordingly. I'm going to merge this down and create a new layer. My hair is itchy on my face. Boff. There we go. There, we're just going to... Again, we're just following the contours of the mountainside here to create the texture. It's really easy. You just add it in and then you erase it. Add it and erase it. God, look at that little ridge that just hopped up. I love that. That's really cool. Do like this. Scratch at that. And is my music going? I feel like my music stopped. Yeah, my fucking music stopped. Come on, man. Epidemic, do the thing for me. There, that should work. Okay, there we go. Music's back up, we're good to go. All right, so I want to add in some more texture over here to make this feel a little bit better. It's looking a little vacant. So let's open this up a little bit here. Take this and we're gonna sweep it down, again following the contours that we've already established. This is just the brush that I'm using here to smudge is our Mountain Razor. Also in the brush set that's on my Patreon. Take all this and we push it down, just pushing it down the mountain, letting it blend in, and then we'll, just like we've been doing, we'll just erase away it so it creates the texture. across because that's the again the contours of the mountain. This would be a vertical swipe like this. This is a vertical swipe. This is a horizontal swipe. This is a longitudinal line. This is a latitude line. I'm just filling in gaps here, knowing that we're going to erase it again. It just creates a layer. We're just layering texture by adding and then subtracting paint from the area. Very simple technique. Very basic Photoshop technique. You see how it's filling in the form of the mountain like this. And we can carve away at it. Create these little texture points in here. I'm just using the mountain chisel brush just to scratch out little shapes inside of here, just letting the organic nature of the scattered pattern resolve to allow your eye to basically acknowledge that the pattern exists and then to ignore it, basically. Once your eye acknowledges a pattern and accepts it as reasonable, it basically will start to fill in gaps like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. And it just starts doing the work for me. Your eye is working for me and making the illusion of this illustration work. Which is what we want. We want to, since your eye has the tools that I need for you to like my paintings, I am co-opting your visual your visual software to help render to render my illustrations instead of me using my hardware, if that makes sense. But that looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So I think I can go ahead and say we're cool with the mountains for now. I feel like I want to come into here a little bit and chop at this a little. Hey, timely timer. That's our first 20-minute mark. I run my stream in 20-minute bursts, mostly just to make sure I don't get caught up in any particular tangents or wasting my time on something. It gives me a chance to check myself. Where am I at? Where's my pacing? So we're gonna grab this here. We can merge this layer down. So we have our shadow here, and we have our highlights here. We have the base, and we have our sky in the backdrop. So I'm just gonna mess around in the foreground just a little bit longer here. I wanna try to establish a little distancing here in the foreground of this lower mount compared to the high peaks in the back. So I'm just gonna scratch at this for a little bit. Just working our way forward in the piece. I don't have any clouds in the sky. That's what we're gonna do next. After I get done futzing with this hillside. We'll start building clouds, and we'll just use more Bob Ross techniques for the clouds in the sky. Again, this is all Bob Ross techniques, just in a digital format using digital tools instead of the physical tools that he uses. Since I can't see color, I can't actually make physical paintings like he does. So I was able to find a way using Photoshop color picking tools and the different digital brush sets to be able to replicate his abilities here in Photoshop. The Bob Ross company wasn't interested in working with me because their business is selling paint. So the more people they have taking Bob Ross training classes to become certified Bob Ross painters, the more they become salesmen for selling Bob Ross paint and canvases and liquid white buy their brushes and buy their canvases. Like their industry isn't built on ideas. Their industry is their business is built around selling the materials to make the paintings that Bob can do. And since I can't use those tools, it doesn't mean I don't get to play. It just means I have to play differently. And they're just I'm a competitor. They view this type of work as a threat because it takes away from people buying paint. Because I have infinite paint. I never have to buy a canvas. I never have to buy liquid white. I never have to buy their brushes. You don't even have to buy my fucking brushes. I give them to you for free on my Patreon. And if you want me to make a painting for you, you can. I will do a commission, a similar commission for a measly $200. You can put in. You can join my Patreon and queue up for a $200 point. And I will happily make you a painting. It's digital only, of course, so you'll have to print it yourself if you want to print it. I retain all rights to the works that I create for Patreons that I can sell as my own materials and do stock art with. If you're planning on using, my my paintings for stock art in your own role-playing game or other purposes, you are welcome to do so. I add a $50 licensing fee for each piece that you want to publish in. If you're having me create an original landscape painting like this, $200 for personal use, $250 for professional per book. There we go. Scratch that in. Tap at that a little bit. I don't want to use, we're getting into the lower lands, so I don't want to use the same aggressive amount of texturing in these lower hills than at the peaks. The texture changes as I drop in elevation. That helps indicate the change in elevation is a change in style. We're going to cover this all up with tree lines anyway, so we're just playing for style right now. Actually, I'm going to take that all back. I'm going to scratch in some foreground here, break up that frame. There, fade that in. Blend to win, y'all. Erase a little bit to scratch it out. Blend in. Scratch out. There. That feels better. Okay, I think I'm done messing around with the hill for now. I'm going to cover this up with distant tree line anyway, so I don't have to get too obsessed with the detail. But I also don't want to half-ass anything. You know, you do the work. You put the work in. You make the thing happen. You do the dealy. Take that back here. offset it a little bit just to scratch it into the environment. I'm going to take, I'm going to switch to the cloud brush to smooth this in. I like that foreground texture in here. I don't want to mess with that. I just want to mess with this texture back here that's blending into the environment. Get that all in there. Scratch at that a little bit. Bring that in. What happens if I put this down here? Nothing happens. That means it's perfect. Let's merge that down. Yeah, that's good. Merge that. There we go. Okay, cool. So that feels pretty good. I can go ahead and close up that mountain. Go back to our sky. And I now want to add in clouds. So let's go to I need to push the text to the background so it doesn't overlay. Actually, what I need to do is take the reference and push it to the top. There we go. So this is the there, and here. These are the references that we're using for our skyline right now. So I'm going to grab, so I don't see color. So that means that I need to use my RGB tool up here in the corner, up in the right-hand corner there, to see. I'm going to first grab a round brush because I just used just a basic round hard brush. We're going to take a look at what color options are being given for these clouds. I think I might want to start with something like this. Let's go here. Let's start here and see where that takes us. So we have the sky backdrop. I wanted to so when I do a sky, I want to do the initial gradient wash to establish the color of the sky, whether it's a clear sky or hazy or whatever, overcast, stormy. Then we do the mountain range so that we can see where the border is, basically, you know, where this cuts across the skyline, and it establishes where is our, if we have snow peaks, where are they, so that if I drop in, like there is virtually, in my eye, there's virtually no difference between the snow caps and that shadow and that color here. Obviously, for you, if you see color here, you're going to see a difference between the blue in the background and the vague gray of the mountain peaks. But the contrast, there's zero contrast. So you have to be careful. Because your eye is going to trick you. Your eye wants contrast. And color is not actual contrast. It wants value contrast. Breaks of like white versus black. It wants that. That's what pleases the eye, is the value contrast, regardless of what the color is. Color is more like an accent or flavor to the contrast is the texture of the soup, as it were. Like, is it a stew? Is it a thin soup? Is it chowder? And then the color is the flavoring that goes into what you're cooking. Like if it's a clam chowder, then the colors are going to be like that rich, thick fishiness of it. If it's a sirloin stew, that savoriness is a different, like a reddish color. You know, whatever. It's the analogy is flawed, but hopefully it comes across. Sorry, I'm cleaning up. There's some grit on my monitor screen here. You can't see it because you aren't looking at the computer monitor. There we go. Got that cleaned up. So let's just start dabbing some shit in here and see how it plays out. We're just gonna start really light and simple like that. This is the cloud brush that we use for blending. Here, I'll give you a clean. I'm having a hard time getting a clean dab. Yeah, I'm having a hard time getting a clean dab. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. I was trying to show the texture that's built inside the brush that allows us to do the different blend techniques, but it's not. It's just proving difficult today. So I'm just going to go ahead and walk away from that and work here into the environment. So let's check our references over here to never forget. Yeah, we can do this. So right now I'm just going to blend. I'm just doing little circles and little wiggles to break up that pixel line here to start blending it in. This may or may not work. We'll see. I don't normally do angles like this, but it feels, I don't know, it felt right. So we're just going with the feeling. And we can twist the brush and change the angle to change the fluffiness of the clouds. I could build these clouds in separate layers, but I don't feel that's necessary right now. Right now we're just kind of playing with some texture and angles and sweeps just to see how things play out. Not really committing to anything specifically. I'm going to take an eraser here. Switch to the round brush. We'll worry about layering on highlights in a separate layer. Yeah, for now, we're just working this into the canvas. Basically creating texture in the sky. That's all the clouds are, it's sky texture. Blend, blend, blend. Blend it in. So I can have that going on here behind the mountains, and we don't have any issue with contrast at this point between the skyline and the mountaintops. It's exactly what I wanted. I could just go with a completely cloudless sky in the blue, but well, you know, what's the fun in that? Maybe someday I'll have a painting that warrants a cloudless sky, but a sky without clouds is like a home without kids. Empty. Blend it in. And then we'll go over here and we'll do something similar. Welcome to the stream. Hope you enjoy your stay. I stream Monday through Friday in the morning like this every week, doing illustrations for the role-playing books that I publish, whether right now it's an Eberron adventure. Last year was mostly a Spelljammer fantasy space travel book. After this, I'll be doing bastions and dominions, basically castles and structures that characters can control in the D&D game, like villages and communities and stuff like that. It's a niche product. Not everyone is interested in running their own bakery in D&D, but some of us enjoy doing that stuff. And for those, the Bastion campaign book is there. So we'll be doing probably a lot of environmental art for Bastion campaign once that's ready to publish. I'm looking forward to seeing what that book's gonna look like. Because I don't know what these things look like any more than you do until I actually build them. And like, oh yeah, that's cool. So it's a fun discovery process for myself as much as it is for anyone else that's checking the channel. Just rotating the brush around to change the angle, to add variety to the brush, to make the clouds look more organic and alive. That's my cue to take a sip of coffee. And chase it with some water. YouTube does absolutely just 100% does not like my channel because I do a lot of different stuff without real concern about like pleasing any particular algorithm. Like I'm not trying to focus fire in the art community or the role-playing game commentary community or anything like that, like the let's play community. So I think it's difficult. Like the YouTube wants you to silo your content. So it's easy to connect people with similar interests to your work, and that just doesn't. It's not that for whatever reason it doesn't resonate with me. I guess I'm just tired of winning, so I decided to not do it the way that YouTube wants me to do it, so that more than anything, so that I can just make sure that I'm always doing what I want to do. Instead, like I've already seen like what kind of an impact being praised by the algorithms can do for the amount of people that show up. Like I can get hundreds of views an hour, or I can get 2. You know, it just depends on what YouTube, how YouTube wants to serve my shit. And I'm being stubborn, but I figure if I just keep doing what I'm doing long enough, that eventually the YouTube trends will bend in the direction of how I like to do things, and it probably won't last for long. But if I'm a broken clock, I'll at least be right twice a day, you know? That's kind of the approach. And when I get it right, maybe I pick up additional subscribers, and maybe we just slowly grow over time. There's a wide gamut of stuff that I do. I'm not always doing environmental Bob Ross style paintings like this. Sometimes I'm doing character art. Sometimes I'm doing vehicle or weapon art. Sometimes I'm doing combat magic spell effects. Sometimes I'm writing. Sometimes I'm doing page layouts. Sometimes we're doing cartography. Just depends on what we need to do next for the role-playing project that we're streaming. But I want to do all of it. I want people just to see like what goes into making a role-playing game. Like what are all the steps, what's the details, and it's part of what we're doing here. God, I really like how this is blending. This feels really, really good. It's very subtle, so I want to put in some more highlighted white cloud effects to break up the sky a little bit more. But that's a really good backdrop. Let me make sure we're staying focused here and giving all corners of the piece the same amount of love. But I think this is a really good backdrop. Now, I really, really like that. My eye is really just bugging me. Hold on. There we go. And I'm going to put another timer on the clock. We're at 7:07 right now. We got about an hour, about 40 minutes or so left. So I started my timer over at 20 minutes, and then we'll have another 20-minute marker after that, and then we'll be done for the day. So that's our backdrop clouds. Let's pull open our references again. Let's grab that fluffy cloud. Yeah. Cool enough. Okay, cool. That's gonna work. Let's peel this aside. Let's do this. Since we have these contours established in here already, I'm basically just highlighting those contours to help shape what this cloud is going to be. And then I don't have to adhere to it. I can use it as a guideline, as a starting point. There, I can work further from there. So I'm just going to work this in. So we'll probably, we started this one yesterday, which was Wednesday. We'll definitely get the clouds done today and start working on the hills. Tomorrow we'll work on the homesteads and the country path. And then we'll work on the wildflower foreground next week. Probably, I'm guessing, finishing by Wednesday. And then we'll move on to the next piece. This is one of the largest paintings that we have to do for the whole project. So I'm really glad that it's queued up now. Off screen, when I'm working off camera, I'm currently building maps that drop into places. Like it's an adventure, so there's tons of locations with specific encounters and stuff that occur. And so I'm in the process of building out the map assets to drop into the page. So the majority of the illustration, like most of the visual reference stuff, the visual language of this adventure is map locations and spot art. And the majority of spot art that we're doing is environmental stuff. Stuff kind of like this. So it's if I can do an environment illustration, if the space that is available for an illustration on a page, if doing an environmental painting makes sense in any capacity, that is what I will do. And then it basically goes environmental painting. It's map space, map rooms is first. Environmental paintings is second. Tokens like creature and NPC tokens is third. Items items and effects, and then like interactive scenes is my lowest priority. But especially on pages that have a lot of open space on them, environment pieces like this are really good at filling that area. Take it from Wizards of the Coast with the 2024 DMG and Player's Handbook. You can fill large amounts of page space with illustrations to get your idea across. I want to do some more of that over here. Just going to create a separate layer for it. I like that. That feels really, really good. There we go. I like these stacking effects here. This type of like overlaying tumbly look to the clouds. That feels really, really good in the piece. There we go. Nice. So far, so good. Let's work the clouds into this. So we do the mountains first, again, so we can create these lines of contrast so we know to avoid having like a thick white bank here behind the snow. I'm going to break up that texture to help create those different points of contrast in the piece. It helps guide the eye around the composition easier, and it helps the eye relax by not having to work. The less the eye has to work, the more it's going to just hand wave textures and shapes and stuff. Like if your eye doesn't have to scrutinize what it's looking at, it can just grok what's going on. it'll just fill in the details for you. It's pretty amazing how easy it is to co-op the eye, to do the work for the artist for you. It's the eye. The eye likes the shorthandedness of it. It's already processing so much information that's coming in. Anything that we can do as creators to ease that burden of processing, it's going to reward us back by making what we do just feel more natural. Your eye wants to be convinced something fits within what you know. So I'm gonna add another layer here. Clouds is just a matter of layering. And you know what? I think I want to grab. Let's go to our reference and let's see if we can find a lighter. There. That's ridiculously light. So for this next layer, this will work really good. And the sun we know is coming from the east over this direction. So when we put in highlights, we want to be mindful of where our crests are at and how they're layering over each other so that we can have that, again, making it easier for the eye. Is the perspective checking out? Yes, it is. Great. Then I don't have to think about that. We're just going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And then your eye just trusts your perspective. Is the lighting here, does it make sense? Yes, it does. Great. Well, then we can start just making assumptions on your behalf that makes the lighting just work out. That's what your eye, that's what the viewer's eye wants to do. Make this easy on me to get what's going on so that I can just shorthand it. So you can kind of hijack the visual cortex, you know, make it work for you. Fade out the bottom to make it work into the cloud. Add in another layer here on top of it. Being mindful of the mountaintops, not wanting to override the snow tips. Very important that we keep those preserved. The rest of this we can just mess around with. There we go. I'm tilting in and leaning my head like that because I'm thinking too much. I need to peel back a little bit. Relax some. Let it sit. There we go. And just blend it in. Make it feel good. And then all the text layer here goes all the way out to here. So like all of this is irrelevant, but I'm overextending the piece on purpose because this thing can have value outside the page of the page of text that it's sitting on. Like this will be a pretty cool standalone piece, regardless of the actual composition of the page that's sitting on. And again, this is that 16:9 format. If you're full screening right now, you can see the painting here in the center. You can see the text off to the side and on the bottom. There you go. Bob's your uncle. So I stream 9 times per week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this. I do artwork like this. And then Tuesday and Fridays at lunch. I'm in Seattle, which is Pacific Standard Time, which is UTC -8. So like around 2:30 at lunch on Tuesdays and Fridays, I do game design for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition using the new 2024 options. And then Mondays and Thursday nights, like tonight later on, around 5:30, 6 o'clock PST -8 UTC, I'll do like a 2 or 3 hour game design, creating again for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition specifically right now, making new character options, and campaign subsystems, game engine stuff to make the D&D game just better. Provide more options, different types of campaigns. I've been running games in Dungeons and Dragons since 1987, so I'm approaching 40 years of running games, and I've got a pretty particular style of narration and campaign formatting that I like to use that has allowed me to run multiple campaigns in D&D from level 1 to 20 over the years. And a lot of the tools and like narrative structure that I like to use from 2nd and 3rd edition don't exist in 5th edition. So a lot of the work that I do as a game designer is reintroducing those 2nd, 3rd edition elements into the 5e game engine so that you can run the type of games that I like to run using the game engine. I like the 5e game engine more than any other version of Dungeons and Dragons. It's just a better game system. But I like the flexibility and character building aspects of 3rd edition and the depth of world building that was in 2nd edition. So a lot of my work is taking those 2nd and 3rd edition what was the word I'm looking for? That mentality from those older editions and bringing them into the mechanics of 5e. Oh god, that looks so good. That looks super good. That line, like this little piece right in here, like this area right in here. That's to me, that's pretty peak. I'm really pleased with that. When I look at the overall composition, like that just attracts my eye. That dip there. So let's just keep working the piece and just working this all into the canvas, and it'll end up looking cool. It's because we just go through the process, we run the techniques, and we do the thing, and it ends up looking cool. And sometimes it's just kind of, I mean, I've like I said, I did 120 different Bob Ross paintings to get to this point, and then I've done like maybe 40 some odd more beyond that. So I've got 150 to 200 some odd environment landscape paintings like this under my belt. So I'm starting to get a decent idea of how they should look, what feels good, what's a cool composition, what can I get away with, where did I run into difficulties, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting the experience. And the only way you can, just like in chess, you can't learn how to defend against cheesy traps until you fall victim to various cheesy traps that like end the game in 7 sessions. Like, okay, that fried liver attack sucked. How do I avoid fried liver in the future? You can't learn to avoid the fried liver attack until you've fallen prey to the fried liver attack multiple times. Like, maybe you can one and done it and you'll learn your lesson and never get it again. But someone could hit you with the fried liver later in the game, not just the first 7 moves. And it's like, oh, that's that fucking fried liver, and it became active at the 20th point, the 20th move in the game. Who knows? Hypothetical. But you have to fall prey. You have to make mistakes. You have to be taken advantage of to learn how to not be taken advantage of. Because you just don't have the foresight. If you don't have the experience, like how can you empathize with someone who's starving if you've never been hungry? It's just an experience thing. You have to acquire the experiences to be able to have the wisdom to be able to counteract or have solutions to the problems. That's just the human condition. But knowing how you can apply the human condition to different scenarios is how you build that wisdom. If that makes any sense. Maybe that makes sense. Who knows? Makes sense to me, so it's got to make sense to somebody. All right, blend down the bottom of this just to work it into the canvas. in. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger to make it easier to work the area. How we doing? Working that in. I can feel a new move coming on in here, like we're gonna shift. Something's gonna shift here in a moment. This is where it's at. This is where the next block is gonna be here. I can feel there needs to be a cloud in the foreground here. Like this back here, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I like how that sits. I'm gonna actually expand this a little bit, that. Just to snidge it out a little. All right, that's our 20-minute timer. That tells me to reassess where we're at. Make sure that I'm not diving into any particular element too deeply. Like at this point, it's like you've worked those clouds enough, Kearney. Like how much more better is it going to get at this point if you keep working it? The answer is probably not at all. So let's shift gears, and we'll just work on the foreground here a little bit, just to add some more layers in, and then we'll probably drop down into. We'll start on the hills today. So this is probably going to be the last layer of clouds that we have to worry about in this composition. Maybe if I drop it down a little bit here. I feel like this should be a little sharper. There. A little floofier, a little puffier. Nice. The higher up in the atmosphere you get, the more what's the word I'm looking for? There's cumulonimbus, there's cumulus, and then there's the stratus. There's a stratosphere, which isn't the word I'm looking for. There's the poofy clouds, and there's like the long ribbons, and the long ribbons are higher up in the sky. There we are. And then lower to the ground is the cumulonimbus, the cumulonimbus, the thick, fat, white, puffy clouds. They get heavy with water, which is why they get so puffy and drop so low, and then they dump their water and they bleed out, and then they ascend back into the sky because they're not burdened anymore. I used to know the name of all the clouds, but I haven't had to say any of them in years, so that knowledge has kind of decayed a little bit. Ain't that just life? Don't use it, you'll lose it. Your brain's always looking at being more efficient, freeing up stuff that you don't need to make room for stuff that you spend more of your time on. The brain is a fixation machine. There we go. create one last layer. I just want something. I want something cutting through here. Don't want it to interrupt the mountain range, but I do want to have it disrupt that darkness block. So we're going to do like this. Work that into the canvas here, and then keep this edge sharp like that. There, and then I just really want to just work that in. That feels pretty good. Too sharp of a contrast there. Let's smooth this out a little bit. Break up that block. This is too inky. There. Does that work? So now let's take all of that. Now I can futz it around the sky a little bit to see if there's a way we can change where it sits to balance it differently. We can also drop it a little bit in its opacity. Now we can come back through. I'm just going to highlight. I'm just going to do some tip highlights along here. See if I like that. I think I'm going to. Let's do that. Let's see how this turns out. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. There we go. Here. Over here. I don't want to have these highlighted like that. I'm going to fade that in a little bit. Right down here. There we go. So we're finishing up this cloud texturing, and then we're going to start working on the hillsides and just working our way forward in the map or in the canvas towards the camera. There. I like that. That's feeling really, really good like that. I really, really like that. And again, all these smudge brush tools are on my Patreon. You don't have to be a purchasing member of my Patreon. It's there for anybody that's willing to follow me. You can commission landscapes like this if you're interested in that. I don't do a lot of commissions, but I am certainly willing to accommodate on occasion if someone is interested in purchasing an environment illustration like this for themselves or for their book, whatever book it is that you might be coming out with. I'm happy to accommodate. I love doing Bob Ross style paintings. They're so fun. I don't think there's enough people trained in doing them digitally, it shouldn't be something that you can only do in physical space. You should be able to do it digitally as well. And it's just there's not a lot of support out there for it. I just happen to be someone who does. But whatever piece I'm working on is whatever the book I'm working on needs. It's not always an environment. If I can do an environmental painting, I will, because they're the most fun things for me to do, and they allow you to fill space easily in a book. Very, very easy to fill space with these type of illustrations if you can warrant them being on the page. Sometimes they aren't the appropriate, like, that's not what the narrative always needs. Sometimes it needs a character interaction or an object or like some sort of spell effect or whatever. Let's do this. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I'm going to let that sit. We're just going to call that the sky for now. We're going to go over here. We're going to get into the hills. So, we already have a hill layer here that we had built before, but I'm not going to keep this. I am going to use it for a color reference, though. Here. And then something a little brighter and sharper. I don't want too much contrast happening this far away from the camera, but this is going to give us a chance to use our tree line texture brush. So we're using this to create these tips here. I mean, that's so small, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But we want to have that level, that I want to grab my mountain chisel, 70% strength and the opacity. I'm just going to grab this and pull it down here for now. We're creating tree tops. And then we're going to erase this interior space, and then we're just going to do basically like stadium seating. We're just going to do row after row after row of these tree stands in the background. And at first they might not look okay, but when you add enough, when you layer them enough with enough volume, your eye just gives up. It's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do here. We're going to shorthand it for you. And again, it's having the eye work for you. Instead of you trying to do all the work yourself. So for now, all we need to do is just create this initial tree line here. And then we're going to just keep manipulating this space. Get rid of that. There, that's our initial sweep, and then we're going to go through here. I'm going to use a light eraser, like I want to use an eraser of like 20%. And then we're just going to grab and pull down here to fade. An eraser that we're using here, so I'm just scratching away at
the intensity of the brush strokes to blend it into the background a little bit more. That'll make it easier for us to then layer on another stadium row on top of it. And then we're going to take this edge along here and start dusting at the bottom to break that up. See how it's creating these like little negative, this negative space, little peaks here? Your eye's going to trick you into thinking that those are a separate tree line inside of the dark lines. So it's going to stack up on your eye for a little bit, and that's going to help wear it out and make it give up and just accept, yeah, this is texture. This is tree lines. This all makes sense. Go to the next layer here. We're going to do the same thing again. I don't want to do too thick. Oops, hold on. There. Get back here. Off into the distance here. And again, we're going to use the peak tip. So we're just going to take that and again pull down here to create the positive and negative spaces in the tree line. This is obviously a much more meticulous process than what Bob would have to do with his own painting, but we don't have the level of complexity in our brush sets and canvas interaction that you do in like real space. So we have to fake it all in the virtual realm using these modified tools to create the illusion of the effects that we want. Like that. Then again, we've got the really low opacity on the eraser. We can just tap at this. We're going to do as many layers of this as it takes for us to make it, for it to end up looking good. However many layers that is, it doesn't matter. We're just going to keep stacking stadium seating on top of each other until the eye just gives up and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, good. That's all we were asking. And I feel like my music stopped again. There it is. Tap away at that. And again, there's that negative that negative space again that creates the fake tree lines inside of the tree lines that your eye just gives up on. We want your eye to give up. Make it stop working so hard. Just accept what it is that I can see. There, that That feels pretty good. And we're just going to keep working that layer. But something I saw while I was in here, I think I wanted to mess with for a second. I'm going to break up some of the shapes here. Sometimes these paint strokes look too much like paint strokes. You want to some of that's just good texturing, and you don't necessarily want to destroy it, but you also want to break down actual brush strokes. Feels a little bit better. Down to the canvas here. Oh shit. All right, well, looks like we're running out of time. I've got like few minutes left. So let's stitch that back shut. Let's make another tree line here just to keep working. Just keep working it. There's adding another row here in front of the rows of the two rows that we've already done, and we're just repeating this process over and over again. Because that's how a forest makes, you know? I tap, I hit shift, and then I drag. When you hold the shift button down, it'll only do either horizontal or vertical lines. So when I tap and then press shift and then pull down, it guarantees that it is a perfectly straight line. If I were to tap smudge and then tap again, see that made a diagonal line there? I have to tap and then hold down shift. Otherwise, the shift function will force a line between the 2 points, the last 2 points that I tapped. So that's how you get diagonal lines, which sometimes is a tool that we need to use. But in this technique, we only want to do vertical lines because trees. So I tap, shift, drag, 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 tap, shift, drag. Tap, shift, drag, 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 tap, shift, drag. You get it. But it creates these neat little texture effects in here. And then we erase at the bottom of it at a very low strength opacity. We tap and then drag vertically as well to maintain the shapes that the shape language that we've been developing. But now it looks like you can see here it's starting to look like a freaking little forest. We just want to keep stacking layer upon layer upon layer on top of each other. To create that illusion effect. tap and drag. I'm only using 10% strength right now, so that's a very weak eraser. Then I'm going to horizontally dust along the base of it to fade out the bottom of the tree, because we're going to cover this layer over with another layer of tree line. I'm actually going to start a new layer altogether after this one to preserve the integrity of this forest back here, and then start layering up in front of it. So we're going to be back tomorrow morning. We're going to continue working on this. We're going to finish this hill line. Yeah, we'll finish this crest tomorrow, and then start in on the homestead structures, like the farms, the barn, the ranches, all that stuff. But I want to fade this out like that. I'll probably add another layer in behind this and go up the hill, like up here. But we're not there yet. Ridgeline, ridgeline. Ridge. Yep, we're coming along. But that's it for now, so I'm going to hit save. We've made progress. That's all we can ask, is that we just make more progress every day. And again, just to show you guys, I need the text back in. Here's our 16:9 page format. There, so if you're on full screen, you'll see the full screen. And you can see at this level where you can read the text here, how convincing that illusion is of that terrain in the background. This is going to be a really good looking piece when it's done. So again, looking at our composition, we have all this stuff that's happening in the background, and then we're going to have, as the camera continues to slide down the page, we'll have the homesteads here, a little country path winding through it. And then we'll have the wildflowers here in the mid-ground. And then in the foreground, we'll have shrubbery and rosemary bushes to help create these different layer effects. And overall, it's going to end up looking pretty much Little House on the Prairie, which is exactly what we want. So, all right, so that's it. I got to bail for now, guys. Let's get rid of the composition layer there. We're going to, I mean, we're literally going to do this striation effect. We're going to do that all the way down throughout all of this region here. Like it'll trail off over there, but this is the bulk of where we need to do this, and then it'll feather off here at the end like that. So once we fill in that gap, then we'll be able to start working on the farmland foreground. There you go. All right, that's it for now, guys. I'm gonna hit save. If you think this stuff is cool, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for the notifications. I'm here 9 times per week, 5 days in the morning, doing artwork like this. Game design on Tuesday, Friday lunch, Monday, Thursday night, including tonight. And hope to see you guys here again. Check out my books down below. Join my Discord if you're interested in asking questions, blah, blah, blah. I'll see you guys later.